antiparticles. At least that's what the math says.
Math schmath. What's the evidence?
There is evidence. You know Edwin Hubble, the guy who in the early 20th century was the first scientist to measure the drift of matter in the universe, thus advancing notions of an expanding universe. What would it be expanding from? Well, the Big Bang, duh.
Anyway, it's just a theory. Why do people go around touting theories? Where's the rigor in that?
Dude, don't equivocate. A theory only becomes a theory after withstanding rigorous testing. You slept through class, didn't you?
You're making my head hurt again. Quit with the questions.
Well, it sure does sound like a difficult class, doesn't it?
It's a very interesting topic and very controversial, so there are many opinions on it. But before we get into that, why don't we take a look at some of those physics-related words that we listen to in Language Takeaway.
Language Takeaway.
We've got 4 words we've heard in the dialogue that are all related to physics. So let's start with the first one, which is matter.
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 Okay, so you probably know this word from what's the matter, what's wrong.
Yep.
In this case, we're talking about matter, so anything that occupies space, that has a mass, or that is related to energy. So matter.
So all things in the world are made up of matter, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now let's move on to another one.
Particles.
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 Now, particles are a little bit more... Now, particles are a little bit easier. They're just very small pieces of a whole.
An apple is made up of apple particles?
Something like that. You can, if you want to understand it easily, apple has many small particles that make up the apple.
So, let's paint a picture here. Imagine you've got a beach, and all the pieces of sand are particles of the beach.
Exactly. Very good. So those are particles.
Now, the next one is a little bit difficult for me. I don't understand this. Antiparticles.
All right. So antiparticles.
Antiparticles.
Now, this prefix, anti, it means something that is against, right?
Right. And I've seen this one in anti-clockwise.
All right. So antiparticles are those that are against particles. So basically, if you have a particle that has a positive charge and another one comes in with a negative charge in the same weight and the same type of particle, if they get together, they cancel each other out and they both die.
Oh.
So that's an antiparticle.
All right. Well, you heard it first here at Englishpod.
So antiparticles are not a good thing to have around.
Now, we also heard them talk about the drift of matter.
Right. Drift of matter.
Drift of matter.
Also sometimes called drift of dark matter.
Okay, well, I know the verb to drift, right? To sort of float away on the sea.
Right. If you have a little ship, you leave it on the beach, it'll drift away. It'll go slowly away.
Yeah. But what about drift of matter?
So basically, the drift of matter is this residue, the remains of the Big Bang, of the explosion.
Okay.
So matter and radiation keeps on drifting through the universe.
So it's moving slowly through the universe.
Moving slowly. So this big explosion, and just consider it to be like this ripple, and it's expanding and expanding. That's the drift of matter.
All right. Well, I learned something else today.
Some very specific words related to physics, but it's very interesting. Once you get into reading about these things, it will help you to understand it better.
That's right. But we've also got some non-physics related language that we want to look at now in Language Takeaway, Part 2.
So they
were talking about the drift of matter and how it's drifting through the universe. And then he said, thus advancing the notions of an expanding universe.
So I want to look at the phrase, thus advancing notions.
Thus advancing notions.
Okay, let's start with the first word here, thus.
Okay, so this is a good connector.
Or conjunction.
Or conjunction. And basically it means...
Therefore.
Therefore or in consequence, right?
So thus advancing notions. Now, notions are ideas.
Right.
And so when you advance notions or advance ideas, you help them make progress. You help them go forward and become known. Okay.
So in order to understand this in the context, they are saying that the drift of matter thus advances notions of an expanding universe. So it is making progress to people believing that the universe is getting bigger.
Okay, so interesting phrase. Now, I really like this word thus, and a lot of people are afraid to use it. So why don't we hear a few examples of how it's used in context?
Example 1. So you can see that we've studied the fossil record, and thus we can conclude that evolution is a fact. Example 2.
He broke severe company policies, thus we had to fire him.
Example 3. I did not receive the documents on time, thus I was unable to send them to you.
All right, good examples of thus, and I guess now we can use it a little bit better.
That's right. Now let's move on to our next word. So they were talking about people who go around touting theories.
Tout.
To tout.
Okay, so what does this mean, tout?
Well, basically, when you tout something, you talk about it in a positive way, so as to almost like sell that thing.
Okay.
So, for example, we can say, the company is touting the many benefits of its product.
Okay, very good. So to talk positively about something.
Yeah, with the idea of trying to sell that thing or make people buy into it or believe it.
All right, very good. What about our next word?
Well, we heard two related words in the dialogue. They were talking about where's the rigor in these theories and rigorous testing.
Okay, so what's the difference between rigor and rigorous?
Rigor is the state of being very clear and careful and exact.
Okay.
And rigorous is just the adjective. Clear, careful, attention to detail, and exact.
Okay, very good. So rigorous training.
I'm going over my notes in rigorous detail.
Okay, very good. And now we have one more word today in language takeaway, and that is equivocate.
So we heard, dude, don't equivocate.
Don't equivocate.
Don't equivocate.
All right, so what does he mean by this?
Well, when you equivocate, you use big words to try and mislead somebody.
Okay, so using big words to confuse or to mislead.
Yep. So, for example, we could say the job candidate, we could say, when asked about his experience, the job candidate equivocated.
Okay.
Or even the presidential nominee did not equivocate when he explained his tax policy.
All right, so some good examples, good phrases, a lot of interesting stuff, and a little bit more educational podcast today.
That's right. So let's continue with our education by listening to the dialogue one last time.
What's up? You don't look too good.
Yeah, my head hurts, that's all. I've been in physics class all day. It's killer.
I liked physics. It's all math, really. Arcs, curves, velocity. Cool stuff.
Yeah. But today's lesson was all about the creation of the universe.
A physics class about the creation of the universe? That's some pretty unscientific language there. It sounds more religious to me.
It's all religion. Take the theory of the Big Bang. How is it possible that all of the stuff in the universe comes from an explosion? That's no better than Atlas carrying the globe on his back or African myths about turtles and stuff.
Turtles? Whatever. Look, all that's required for the creation of matter is an imbalance of particles and antiparticles. At least that's what the math says.
Math schmath. What's the evidence?
There is evidence. You know Edwin Hubble, the guy who in the early 20th century was the first scientist to measure the drift of matter in the universe, thus advancing notions of an expanding universe. What would it be expanding from? Well, the Big Bang, duh.
Anyway, it's just a theory. Why do people go around touting theories? Where's the rigor in that?
Dude, don't equivocate. A theory only becomes a theory after withstanding rigorous testing. You slept through class, didn't you?
You're making my head hurt again. Quit with the questions.
All right, so the Big Bang Theory, very controversial. In some schools in the United States, they have prohibited the teachers from teaching it.
I know, which seems quite interesting to me. But it is actually very controversial, and people can get really, really upset about this in America.
So it is an interesting topic. Take it from the point of view of just something else, maybe just to learn a little bit more about this topic such as physics, right?
Right. But there's something that is uncontroversial that I did want to talk about now that we heard in the dialogue. There's a lot of really interesting sort of slang words here in the dialogue, isn't there?
Yeah, we heard in the first part of the dialogue when he said, "I've been in physics class all day. Killer."
Killer.
So what does he mean by killer?
Oh, he's just basically saying it's really hard. You know, it's like it's so difficult that it's murderous.
It was intense.
Yep. But this word we can use positively as well, can't we?
Yeah, I guess you could say that was a killer party.
Yeah, killer moves on the dance floor.
Okay.
Another interesting thing is that he said math schmath.
Now, schmath isn't really a word.
No, but this is a really common structure we use in English when we want to sort of take away from the importance of an idea.
Okay, so you're saying it's not important, I don't care about it, or it's not worth it.
Yeah, so for example, I'm on a diet.
Right, and I would say diet, schmayet.
Yeah.
So basically, the structure is just add an SH and then just kind of make it rhyme.
Yeah.
Schmayet, or like
work schmirk.
Yeah, work schmirk, or something like that.
Yeah.
So you're just making fun of it and you're taking away importance.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat phrase. And one more. We heard them say duh.
Duh.
So when we say this, we're just saying like, you should know this, stupid.
Yeah, this is obvious.
Yep.
It's kind of making fun of the person or
Yeah.
just saying, it's so obvious, how can you not know it?
Yeah.
And it always goes either at the beginning or at the end of a sentence.
Yeah, so duh, Marco, we're recording a podcast.
Right. Very good. So some great words and phrases in this dialogue and a little bit of slang as well, so you can use it maybe with your friends.
That's right. If you have any questions about the language in this dialogue or any thoughts on physics or the Big Bang Theory, come and check out our website at Englishpod.com.
All right. We'll see you guys there. And until next time.
Goodbye.
Bye. Hello, English learners. Welcome back to Englishpod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're going to go back to the movies, but this time we're going to do it a little bit different.
That's right. We're going to be listening as two movie critics offer their opinion on the latest release.
All right, so we're going to be learning how to criticize or give your opinions about something.
That's right. And here we're talking movies, but a lot of this language can be used to offer your criticism or ideas on literature or art or other artistic pursuits.
Okay, so before we listen to this dialogue for the first time, let's take a look at vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
Well, we're going to look at one word here that we will hear in the dialogue, and it is erudite.
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 Okay, so this word erudite, some people pronounce it erudite.
That's true, and basically it's an adjective describing someone who has a lot of knowledge about a subject.
Okay, so an erudite in engineering.
Yes, or an erudite professor.
Okay, very good. So that's the word that we're going to preview today. And now let's listen to our dialogue and find out what movie they are criticizing.
Welcome back, movie lovers, to another premiere movie review. My name is Richard Clark, and I am joined today by the very erudite David Watson.
Thank you, Dick. Today, we're going to talk about the movie Lion King. Tell me, what is your impression of this film?
Well, I think this film is simply a fable depicting man's eternal greed for power, and in my opinion, it's a very fine film. Even despite the accusations of plagiarism of traditional folk tales from other countries, the musical score was amazing. The animation was very well done, and the story was simply enchanting.
I think otherwise. Even though the animation was technically strong, and as you say, the score and songs performed by Elton John were great, the film lacks certain originality. It lacked heart, and I would dare to say it was too predictable.
Predictable? How? Come on, Dave. It's a G-rated movie. It's for the kids. It's not a thriller.
Well, that's just it. It did have some very dramatic and intense scenes. For example, when Mufasa dies, or the dark, grim portrayal of Scar. Even so, the film is linear. Mufasa dies, Simba runs away thinking it's his fault, falls in love and returns to retake what's rightfully his. It's just too cliche.
How can it be cliche? It's a fable. It's telling a time-honored story. The movie makes a point of how the hunger of power leads to corruption and teaches children of the value of respect, life, and love.
You have always been so soft, Dick.
Open your heart, Dave. Don't shut us out.
Anyway, that's all for today, folks. Join us next time as we talk about how to lose a guy in 10 days. I'm sure you'll love that one, Dick.
All right, so The Lion King, one of my all-time favorites.
A very good movie, and well, mixed feelings about it, right? Some people think it's good, other people think it's not that good.
I'm in the good camp, as you know. But anyway, there's tons of really useful and quite difficult language here. So why don't we look at that now in Language Takeaway?
Language takeaway.
All right, on Language Takeaway today, we have 5 words, and we can start with the first one.
So the first critic said that this was a movie depicting man's eternal greed for power.
Depicting.
To depict.
All right, so this word depict, it sounds a little bit strange, so before we explain it, let's take a look at some examples.
Example 1.
I don't really like the way that novel depicted the role of women in society. It was pretty sexist.
Example 2. The film depicts the realities of war very accurately. Example 3.
See, this image here is depicting some of the most well-known scenes from Australian history.
All right, so depicting. I can basically understand that this means to show something. Now we can notice that the word depict has this short little word picked in there that sounds like picture. And when we think about depicting, we're often thinking about in a picture or in a book or in a painting.
So in this case, the story is depicted in a movie, right?
That's right.
So you can see it. It's a picture, basically.
Exactly.
All right, very good. So to depict. Well, moving on, the critic also talked about the grim portrayal of the villain of the movie, Scar.
That's right. So grim portrayal.
A grim portrayal.
Okay, let's look at the word grim first. When something is grim, it's really unpleasant or uncomfortable or even shocking to think about.
Okay, so something that is grim. Now, what about portrayal?
Really close to depict. A portrayal is something that shows or describes something, especially like in a book or in a picture or in a play.
Okay, so a portrayal. I guess we can relate it again to a portrait.
That's right.
All right, so portrayal.
Now, we can also use this as a verb, to portray. So this movie portrays man's eternal greed.
Okay, so we can use this as a noun or as a verb.
That's right.
So moving on with our third word today, we have an enchanting movie.
That's right. The story was simply enchanting.
Okay, so if something is enchanting,
it's really attractive and beautiful and interesting, and it holds your attention.
Okay, it holds your attention. So it's something very nice. Something that is enchanting has to be nice.
That's right. And it has this sense of magic around it.
Okay, very good. So an enchanting moment.
Or an enchanting woman.
Okay. And now, what about our next word? It's French, actually, but we use it in English.
That's right. So the critic said that this story was cliché.
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 Okay, so we hear this all the time. What is a cliché?
Well, basically, a cliché is a phrase or an idea that is used so often that it loses its meaning or importance or interest.
Okay, so can you give us some examples of a cliché moment or maybe a phrase that's cliché?
Okay, well, how about this one? When you're breaking up with your boyfriend and you say, honey, it's not you, it's me.
Okay, that's cliché. It's typical.
Yeah, or maybe a cliché portrayal of a French man would be a guy riding a bike with a baguette, smoking a cigarette, and with a beret on his head.
Okay, that's a cliché portrayal. Very good.
Yep.
So it's common. It's even to a certain point a little bit stereotypical.
That's right.
All right. And what about our last word?
Well, they describe this story as a fable.
Fable.
A fable.
Okay, so when we were small, we all read fables.
That's right. They are stories about animals that are used to teach people a lesson.
Okay, so a fable teaches you a lesson. I think the most famous one is the one of the tortoise and the hare, right?
Yeah, and another good one would be the Three Little Pigs.
Okay, that's also a fable.
Yep.
Okay, so we've looked at these 5 great words, and now it's time for us to move on to putting it together.
Putting it together.
Okay, here we're going to look at some phrases that you can use in a bunch of different ways to help you criticize or give your opinion about a piece of art, like a movie or a book or whatever.
Okay, so let's start right away with our first word. So the film critic asked, what is your impression of this film?
What's your impression of?
What's your impression of something, right?
That's right.
All right, so before we get into explaining impression, let's listen to some more examples.
Example 1.
I don't know where, but I have the impression that we have met before.
Example 2.
I get the impression that he's a very organized person.
Example 3.
Somehow, Jim got the impression that I was gay. Did you tell him that?
Okay, so I can see that this means basically, what's your opinion or how do you feel about something?
Okay, so you can have an impression of something or of someone.
Yep.
All right. And what about the next word?
Well, the critic Richard Clark said that it was a really enjoyable film, even despite the accusations of plagiarism.
Okay, so now we have an interesting phrase here. The accusations of plagiarism.
Accusations of plagiarism.
Okay, so accusations is a noun, right?
Right, it's the action of accusing.
Okay, of blaming somebody.
Yeah.
All right, and what about plagiarism?
This is an academic term. If you plagiarize, you copy someone's work and take credit for it.
Okay, so if I copy somebody's book and I say I wrote it, then that's plagiarism.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
All
So
right.
accusations of plagiarism. Now we can use this phrase, accusations of something, in a bunch of different ways. So Marco, let's have an example.
All right, so for example, we can say he was cleared of all accusations of tax evasion.
Okay. He denied accusations of cheating on his wife.
All right, very good. So accusations. And now moving on to the final part of putting it together, we have this word lacks.
The film lacks a certain originality.
Okay, so the film lacks a certain originality. What does he mean by that?
It doesn't have enough of,
Okay, so if you are lacking something, you don't have enough of it.
or you don't have it at all.
All right. So can you give us some more examples of how we can use lack?
Okay, the same way it's used in the dialogue, our team lacks the appropriate talent to complete this project.
Okay, or I can say our school lacks infrastructure for so many students.
Or we can also say infrastructure is lacking at our school.
Okay, so you can use it in those 2 ways, right? You can use it as a gerund or as a verb.
That's right. Okay, lots of great language here, and why don't we hear it one more time in context with the dialogue?
Welcome back, movie lovers, to another premiere movie review. My name is Richard Clark, and I am joined today by the very erudite David Watson.
Thank you, Dick. Today, we're going to talk about the movie Lion King. Tell me, what is your impression of this film?
Well, I think this film is simply a fable depicting man's eternal greed for power, and in my opinion, it's a very fine film. Even despite the accusations of plagiarism of traditional folk tales from other countries, the musical score was amazing. The animation was very well done, and the story was simply enchanting.
I think otherwise. Even though the animation was technically strong, and as you say, the score and songs performed by Elton John were great, the film lacks certain originality. It lacked heart, and I would dare to say it was too predictable.
Predictable? How? Come on, Dave. It's a G-rated movie. It's for the kids. It's not a thriller.
Well, that's just it. It did have some very dramatic and intense scenes. For example, when Mufasa dies, or the dark, grim portrayal of Scar. Even so, the film is linear. Mufasa dies, Simba runs away thinking it's his fault, falls in love and returns to retake what's rightfully his. It's just too cliche.
How can it be cliche? It's a fable. It's telling a time-honored story. The movie makes a point of how the hunger of power leads to corruption and teaches children of the value of respect. life and love.
You have always been so soft, Dick.
Open your heart, Dave. Don't shut us out.
Anyway, that's all for today, folks. Join us next time as we talk about how to lose a guy in 10 days. I'm sure you'll love that one, Dick.
All right, so a good movie. What do you think about The Lion King? What do you think about his critique?
Well, I am with Dick on this one. I think that this is a great film. It was one of my favorites, and I've seen it about 5 billion times.
Really?
Yep.
You really liked it?
But I'm not interested in my opinion. I want to hear criticisms and film criticisms from our users.
Right, so come to our website at Englishpod.com where you can leave your questions, your comments, and also any criticisms on this particular movie or maybe the other one that we mentioned, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Personally, not so fond of that one, but looking forward to hearing from our users.
All right, or maybe any other movies you might like. So come to the website, and until next time.
Goodbye.
Bye. Hello everyone, welcome back to Englishpod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're bringing you a very, I would say, embarrassing lesson for us men.
Right, embarrassing for men, but I think it's okay for women.
That's right, we're going to be talking about buying underwear, specifically women's underwear.
Right, so obviously not the favorite thing for men to do.
Well, apart from being a little bit uncomfortable, it's also boring.
Yeah, it involves shopping, right?
It involves shopping, so we're not really big on that.
All right, but well, even though it might be a little bit of an uncomfortable topic, there is some great language in here, isn't there?
Yeah, there's some really good words, and of course, the different types of underwear that we're going to be looking at.
Yeah.
But we also have some words that we're going to take a look at before we get into our dialogue, so let's start with vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
Well, we're going to look at 2 words that will appear in our dialogue, and the first one is lingerie.
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 Okay, so lingerie, this is a nice fancy word, basically for underwear, right?
Right, for women's underwear.
Women's underwear.
Yeah.
So lingerie, but it's very nice, very...
Like pretty, sexy.
Sexy underwear, yeah.
Now, the spelling of this word is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's spelled Lingerie.
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 Yes, don't you love English spellings?
So, women's nice, pretty, sexy underwear.
That's right. And our second word, awkward.
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 So this is a feeling that men have, especially when they're buying women's underwear.
Well, yeah, you feel a little bit uncomfortable, or it's a strange situation.
Or weird, or out of place.
It's awkward.
Yes. All right, so we're going to be hearing both of these 2 words in the dialogue. Now, Marco, where are we here?
We're going to be at a department store at the section where they have women's lingerie, and we have a guy buying underwear for his girlfriend.
All right, well, let's find out what happens.
This sucks. I hate buying lingerie. Okay, just find something and get out of here. All right, these are fine. Oh, no, don't come over here. Don't come over here.
You look a little lost. Can I help you?
I'm just having a look around. It's my girlfriend's birthday tomorrow. I'm trying to find her something.
Well, you can't give her granny panties. Have you thought about getting her some sleepwear? We've got these lovely silky nighties, or how about some nice panties and a bra set? Look, here's a nice satin push-up bra, and you can choose a few different styles of undies to go with it.
Sure, that's fine. This is so awkward. What ones do I pick? What size is she?
Well, do you want a thong? Some bikini briefs? Maybe this nice pair of lacy boy shorts.
Just pick something and get the hell out of here. I'll go with these 2. This is mortifying. I just want to get this over with, and she better thank me for this.
Here you are, sir. I'm sure she'll enjoy them.
Finally.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm going to have to take a look inside your bag.
Oh, the poor guy. I totally feel bad for him.
Yeah, he was really nervous, and of course, it was very uncomfortable for him.
I know, and then the security guard shows up.
Exactly. But we had the opportunity to take a look at some really great words and phrases, so let's start off with our first one in language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
All right, well, we're going to look at words here that mostly have to do with underwear, describing underwear.
Right.
And the first one is granny panties.
Granny panties.
Granny panties.
This isn't like a real word, right? It's not something you'll find at a dictionary.
No, it's a slang word. And we use it to describe really big, ugly underwear like your grandmother would wear.
All right, so they're not like the sexy little underwear. It's more like long and it's not very appealing.
Just picture what your grandmother would wear.
No. All right, so granny panties.
So obviously, this guy doesn't want to be buying any of those, but the saleswoman suggests that he try some sleepwear.
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 Sleepwear. Okay, so sleepwear.
Obviously, clothes you wear when you're sleeping.
Now, this is really interesting because men aren't really that complicated when it comes to sleeping. Just throw on a t-shirt and that's it.
Well, obviously for women, there are more options and more different things you can choose from.
Okay.
So it's a whole separate category for women.
Even when you're sleeping, you must wear something nice.
Yes.
One type of sleepwear is silky nighties.
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 Okay, so a nightie.
It's basically a dress that you wear when you sleep.
Okay. Now, the pronunciation is interesting because the first 5 letters are night.
Right.
Right? But you don't say night.
You don't say nighty.
You say nighty.
Yeah, you make the T a D. Nighty.
Now, she offered him some silky nighties.
Right, so silky. Obviously, we know silk is a soft, shiny fabric, right? So when something is silky, it's either made from silk or it's
Similar.
soft and shiny.
Okay, so some silky nighties, very soft, shiny nighties.
Exactly.
Okay. What about our next word?
Well, the sales girl offers different styles of undies.
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 So undies is an interesting word. It's basically short for underwear.
Underwear, okay. So you can just call underwear undies.
Yes. But I think you mostly use this when you're talking about women's underwear.
Oh, really?
I mean, I don't know if I would say undies when I'm talking about men's underwear.
No, I don't think so. Maybe children's underwear.
Yeah, for children.
For children, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we saw some of the different types of clothing, but now let's take a look at this interesting adjective, mortifying.
Mortifying.
This is mortifying.
Mortifying.
Okay, so when something is mortifying.
Well, I think we've got some examples to show you what that is like.
Example 1.
And then I fell in front of everyone. It was mortifying.
Example 2. I was completely mortified when I realized what I had done. Example 3.
It must have been mortifying for her when she realized that her underwear was showing.
So basically, it's very embarrassing.
Super embarrassing.
You want to die almost.
Yep.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I mean, mort.
Right? From death,
French.
right?
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, etymology here at Englishpod.
All right. So some interesting... Okay, so we saw the different types of underwear. We saw this really great word for when you're really embarrassed. So now let's take a look at some of the phrases that you would use when you're really embarrassed in Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
All right, well, we have 2 phrases to look at here. The first one, get the hell out of here.
Get the hell out of here.
Get the hell out of here.
Okay, so if I say I want to get the hell out of here.
You want to leave this place really quickly.
Really quickly.
Yeah.
Just, I want to leave.
Right now.
Now, when you're using this phrase or this sentence, get the hell out of here, is it really polite?
No, of course not. It's impolite.
Okay, so
it's really negative.
Very negative and informal, right?
Yeah.
So you would use this maybe with your friends or, like in this case, think it to yourself.
Yes, but it's not a good idea to use with your boss or your mother.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess sometimes depending on the tone you use, how you say it, you can sound really angry, right?
Definitely.
Right? Okay.
All right, well, let's listen to some examples.
Example 1.
This place is scary. Let's get the hell out of here.
Example 2. What are you doing in my house? Get the hell out of here. Example 3.
We were at a friend's party and all of a sudden her parents arrived. We got the hell out of there as quickly as possible.
All right, so get the hell out of here.
Get the hell out of here.
Now let's take a look at our last phrase for Fluency Builder. Get this over with.
Get this over with.
I want to get this over with.
So you want to finish it really quickly.
But you want to finish it because you're not really enjoying it, right?
Exactly. This is something that you use when the situation is negative.
It's negative, okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I just want to get this over with.
Yeah, I want to get this test over with. I want to get this day over with. I want to get this...
Maybe if you're on a bad date, I want to get this date over with.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
All right, well, interesting phrases, and I think it would help us to hear them once more in context in the dialogue.
This sucks. I hate buying lingerie. Okay, just find something and get out of here. All right, these are fine. Oh, no, don't come over here. Don't come over here.
You look a little lost. Can I help you?
I'm just having a look around. It's my girlfriend's birthday tomorrow. I'm trying to find her something.
Well, you can't give her granny panties. Have you thought about getting her some sleepwear? We've got these lovely silky nighties, or how about some nice panties and a bra set? Look, here's a nice satin push-up bra, and you can choose a few different styles of undies to go with it.
Sure, that's fine. This is so awkward. What ones do I pick? What size is she?
Well, do you want a thong? Some bikini briefs? Maybe this nice pair of lacy boy shorts.
Just pick something and get the hell out of here. I'll go with these two. This is mortifying. I just want to get this over with, and she better thank me for this.
Here you are, sir. I'm sure she'll enjoy them.
Finally.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm going to have to take a look inside your bag.
All right, so I guess this situation is very common. Men either having to shop for this type of article for their girlfriend or wife because it's their birthday.
Yep.
Or sometimes we get dragged into a store to buy this
So you're
stuff.
shopping with your girlfriend and she's going to make you go look at underwear with her.
Yeah. I usually don't do that, though. I'll just go to the next section and just look around.
Look at tools.
Look at TVs and PlayStations.
Yes. But you know what? I have seen some men who go shopping with their girlfriends or wives and actually enjoy buying underwear.
See, that's the thing. I think it makes sense, but I don't know how comfortable you would actually be. I don't know why. I guess just how it indicates sexuality and all this stuff.
Oh, well.
Like, I could do it for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, give my professional advice, and then I'm out of there.
All right, well, maybe those guys who look like they're enjoying themselves are just really talking in their heads, telling themselves how much they hate this.
Exactly. Maybe they're just
they're pretending
or listening to their iPod.
Well, tell us, guys, I know we've got a lot of male listeners. Tell us what you think. Are you embarrassed by women's underwear?
Right. Or women, why aren't you embarrassed when you buy men's underwear for your boyfriend or husband?
I think there's a lot to talk about here. So come to our website at Englishpod.com.
Right. Leave your questions and comments. And, of course, tell us what you think about this topic.
Well, thanks for downloading this lesson. And until next time, goodbye. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of This Just In. My name is Marco. And I'm Erica.
And we're your hosts for Englishpod. And in this show, we're going to be talking a little bit about all the news and important things that are going on at Englishpod.
That's right. This is a show where you can find out about everything that's happening here at Englishpod. And you know, there's a lot going on right now.
Exactly. We're really excited because we just started last week, didn't we?
Yeah, that's right. And we're in the beta phase of our website. Can you explain a little bit about the beta phase, Marco?
Well, at the moment, we're coming out with 3 lessons per week.
That's right. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we put out a new lesson.
And this will be going on until
February.
Right. And also, the really interesting thing about our beta phase is that anyone who signs up now will have free access to the entire Englishpod website and all the material until February.
Yeah, that's a great deal. So make sure you keep listening and take advantage of our free trial period.
So be sure to visit our website at Englishpod.com because you can also find a lot of interesting and useful resources.
That's right. If you're using Englishpod from iTunes, you're going to want to go to our website because there you can download the PDF files so you can review the dialogues. You can look at the key vocabulary from each lesson, look at some expansion sentences or sample sentences from each lesson. And the most important and most exciting thing about the website is you can actually talk to us at Englishpod by leaving your comments and questions on the website for us.
Exactly. We're there all the time to answer your comments and questions, and we're always interacting with our users. And speaking of users, we would like to talk about our 2 users of the week. Since we've been on the air for 2 weeks already, we have 2-star users.
The first one we'd like to recognize and say a big thank you to is Light.
Light, yes. Light has been a really active member of our community, and even though he is a native English speaker, he has really been helpful in commenting and helping out the rest of the listeners.
So, Light, if you're listening, a big thank you from Marco and Erica at Englishpod.
Right, Light. And also, we would like to give a big shout out to Louis Hutlick.
Louis Hutlick, you're a great user. You've been leaving us a lot of fabulous questions, so big thanks to you.
And apparently he studies really hard because he listens to all the lessons and he's constantly asking questions and participating in the community. So now we want to let you know what's coming next week at Englishpod.
That's right. Next week we've got 3 new exciting lessons. And I think my favorite lesson from next week is called Silence Please.
Silence Please. It's a really fun lesson and you can get some really useful phrases from that lesson.
Yeah, it's a lesson about how to tell people to be quiet.
And it's really fun, so hopefully everyone will get a chance to listen to it. But also, I want to remind our listeners that you can send in your lesson suggestions. Maybe you want a lesson about hospitals, so we'll gladly do one on that.
If you have any good ideas for lessons that you want to see on Englishpod, please send your requests to us at Englishpod.com.
Yes, and we'll happily do one for you, but now we have to go. Be sure to listen to our new lesson on Monday, and we'll see you there.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Just In. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And this is Englishpod's news show.
That's right. This is the show where we tell you everything that's happening at Englishpod.
So we're going to give you previews on our lessons for next week. We're going to name also our user of the week.
That's right. We're going to talk about some features on the website. And we're going to tell you about our Englishpod challenge.
Okay, great. So why don't we start by naming our users of the week?
All right. So this week we've had a lot of activity on the website, a lot of comments from you guys, and we're thankful for all of those great comments. But 2 of our users have really stood out as being great members of our Englishpod community. So first we want to say a big thanks to Babar Dewan.
Yes, Babar has been a really helpful person on the community. He's helped out a lot of people by explaining phrases or words. So great job, Babar. Thanks a lot, and hope that you continue listening and helping people out.
Yeah, and a big extra special thanks for those great photos you've been posting. I think my favorite has got to be the one with like 27 hands.
That was an interesting one. I think the message of that was give me a hand or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
And we also have another really great member, Younglee333.
So we want to send a shout out to Younglee333, who's asked a lot of great questions on the website, which we really appreciate.
Yeah, it seems like she is really studying hard and she's asking a lot of questions and being really active. So good job and keep going.
Yeah, okay. So thanks to all of our Englishpod members and special thanks to Babar Dwan and Younglee333.
Okay, great. So why don't we talk about our upcoming lessons for this week?
Okay, we've got 3 lessons that are going to be published this week. We've got our first intermediate lesson and our first upper intermediate lesson.
Yeah, so for all of you who have been asking for intermediate lessons, this week is your week.
That's right. My favorite lesson for this upcoming week is New Guy in Town.
That's a really good lesson, and I'm sure everyone's going to enjoy it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great language in here that will help you to describe weird or strange people, and really excellent language that will help you to gossip better.
Yeah, it's a really juicy lesson, so be sure to listen to it, and be sure to send us your lesson ideas. If you guys want a lesson maybe about a certain topic or a certain interest that you have, send it in and we can prepare a lesson for you on that.
Exactly. So, Marco, now I think it's time for us to tell our listeners a little bit more about our website.
Yeah, as you know, on our website, you can find a lot of great resources, but I would like to talk to you about our community, especially the groups section.
So you can find the groups section under the community tab on the website. Here, a lot of our members have already started some groups. We've got a few good ones for tongue twisters and Australian phrases.
We got one on movies, the joke of the day.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so we have a couple already.
Yeah, so this is a great place where you can interact with other users, make friends, and just practice using some of your newfound English phrases.
Yeah, and we'll be creating some really good groups as well, so be sure to keep your eyes open for that.
We'd also like to invite our listeners to create their own groups on the community section of the website.
And for all of you who use Facebook, now we have a Facebook group so you can join.
Exactly. You can search for it under groups on Facebook. And this is a great place to interact with other Englishpod fans.
Yes, and Englishpod will also have a Facebook profile, so be sure to add us as friends.
Yeah, let's see, Marco, how many friends we can get on our Facebook profile.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a lot. We'll get a lot of friends. We're really popular.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about our Englishpod challenge.
So every week on Englishpod, we want to give you a challenge. Basically, we want to give you a job to do in English so you can practice your language.
So as Erica mentioned already, we have a great lesson called New Guy in Town, and it's about a strange neighbor.
That's right.
So we want your stories and experiences about maybe a strange or weird neighbor.
Yeah, so please send your stories about a strange or weird neighbor to either me, Erica, or to Marco, and we will choose the best story and then publish it on the website.
Exactly. So send us your message with your story and we'll pick out the winner.
Okay, well, everyone, I hope you have a great week. I hope you enjoy these upcoming lessons, and good luck with the Englishpod challenge.
All right, we'll see you guys next week, and until then, it's
goodbye.
Bye. Englishpod.com. Hello, English learners, and welcome to another edition of This Just In. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we are joined in our studio with Pete.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Pete is one of our voice actors for many of our dialogues, and he is a very talented voice actor.
No, you're too kind, Marco. No.
So we always have fun with Pete here in the studio.
Okay, well, in today's news show, we are going to talk about some really important and upcoming exciting news here at Englishpod. The first thing we want to do is tell you about our user of the week. We're going to talk to you a little bit about Englishpod groups, and then we're going to tell you about our upcoming lessons for next week. So, Marco, maybe you can take the honors of announcing our user of the week.
All right. The user of the week is McAllis.
McAllis.
It's been long overdue, but McAllis has been a great user helping out a lot of our listeners.
Yeah, that's true. McAllis writes excellent answers to user questions. I really like how he uses different font colors to help explain his points.
Yes, and also he gives us the insight on British English.
That's really important because Marco and I speak American English, so we really appreciate McAllis's insights into British English.
And now for our star learner of the week. I'm Stephen Lee.
I'm Stephen Lee.
I'm Stephen Lee is a really great member of the community also, and his picture is interesting. It's all in green.
Yeah, that's right.
But he's a really good listener, and he asks a lot of questions. And so good job, I'm Stephen Lee.
Yeah, you know what? I'd like to point out something here. When users like I'm Stephen Lee ask questions in the comment section of our lesson page, they really help out everyone, right?
Yeah.
Because if one person has a question, it's very, very likely that 100 other people are going to have the same question. So I'm Stephen Lee. You've been really brave, asking a lot of great questions, and we really appreciate it.
And another really interesting thing to point out is that he is a member of the Mandarin speakers group.
Yeah, that's right. And that brings us to our next topic for today. And we want to tell you a little bit more about Englishpod groups.
All right, so groups is a really important thing. And Pete has a lot of experience with groups in Chinese pod. So, Pete, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your experience with the groups in the community?
My experience in Chinese pod is that the groups, particularly groups united around a certain interest or made of people from a certain common location, there's a nice thing about them, which is that they tend to attract people from all different levels of study. If you're just leaving comments on particular lessons, you're probably only going to hang around with and only meet maybe the same handful of people over and over again. But if you go to these groups, you often find yourself bumping into some unfamiliar faces who are maybe a little further along on their studies or maybe a little bit behind you.
Okay, but that gives a good opportunity for you to learn from advanced users and also from more beginners.
Right, it just creates a little more blending and a little more sharing.
Okay, that's good.
So we've got some great groups on Englishpod right now. One of my favorites is a group devoted to music lyrics, or the words of famous and popular songs.
Yeah, I saw some of those. There was even some on High School Musical.
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, some really interesting grammar points came up in one of these groups. So that's something I'm really interested in.
Songs are a great way to learn.
Yeah. And there's another one that's a little bit more advanced, but it's an also interesting group. It's a group on Shakespeare.
Oh, okay.
So for all those advanced listeners that maybe want to get a little bit of insight on this really popular writer, you can go into this group, and we're just talking about different scenes from Shakespeare, different plays. So it's really interesting.
Great. So we've just talked a little bit about groups that are based around a interest, but we also have groups around regions. And so I want to challenge our Englishpod listeners to create a group for their city.
Okay.
You know what? We've got a lot of listeners who are in Shanghai.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of listeners in Shanghai. And a lot of listeners in Sao Paulo.
Oh, wow. We have Brazilian listeners.
That's true. And in Hanoi, there's a lot of listeners there.
Wow.
So I want to see groups from Shanghai, Sao Paulo, and Hanoi.
Yeah, if there's a group from Sao Paulo or something, I would definitely join.
Okay. So.
And if there's a group from Shanghai, I'll join.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listeners, this is your challenge. Start a group for your region.
We have some great lessons next week, and our friend Pete is the star of many of them. So, Pete, why don't you tell us about some of your favorite lessons?
All